Okay, that one. What's the exact location?
I had the person of interest in that missing woman case. I know him. Walking around like he is as guilty as sin. You guys gotta hurry. He's got stuff in bags that he's emptied onto the ground, and he's taking load by load to the behind the car wash. Here comes the cop. Yes, they got him.
Tonight, the search for a missing female hiker in the North Georgia mountains and a person of interest.
Blood Mountain, Georgia, a place of natural beauty where hikers seek peace, solitude. But these trails harbored something else, a predator who had spent decades walking among us undetected.
On Blood Mountain it's a good place to hunt because it's the most used day hiking trail in the state of Georgia.
He wasn't just a killer, he was a hunter.
I think I prefer the beast of Blood Mountain.
And the forest were his hunting grounds. It was the start of a new year when he crossed paths with her, a woman who would fight harder than anyone he'd ever encountered. And in the days that followed, what unfolded would expose not just his methods, but his most disturbing delusions.
A bunch of people saw me, and then it was a mistake that picked Meredith. Because as you said, she almost whipped my ass. You said, didn't you say, I bet that 120-pound girl almost whipped your ass? She almost whipped my ass. Amen. She damn sure did. I lost control of both of them, both the knife and the bat. Showed her the knife, grabbed the bayonet, and somehow I lost control of the bayonet and lost it, period. And it went down. I pulled the bat, deployed it, grabbed that. I mean, it was not my finest hour. It was not my, I'm better than that. I am. But I found out she was a black belt. And not only that, she was hard to subdue. And I fought like hell, man. Fought. And then once I gained control of her and got her 10 to 15 feet away from the trail on that little side trail I told you about, she started fighting again. And I had to fight her again for several minutes.
He claimed he didn't begin killing until he was 61, but that story doesn't add up. The case of Gary Michael Hilton raises a chilling question. Did we catch a killer at the beginning of his spree or at the end of a long, hidden trail of bodies? He didn't fit the profile of a serial killer. Hilton didn't look like a monster, but to understand how he became that serial killer who went unnoticed for decades, we have to go back to the beginning of a life that didn't just unravel, it rotted from the inside out. In 1956, when Hilton was just 10 years old, a heavy Murphy bed collapsed and struck him on the head, requiring more than 200 stitches to close the wound. His behavior began to spiral. At 14, he was diagnosed with sociopathic personality disorder. Later, he joined the Army, but he didn't last. He was discharged from mental instability. After that, Hilton began crafting identities, invented past, inflated roles. As if control over the story gave him control over the world around him. He claimed he worked on top-secret nuclear weapons programs. That was a lie, but he said it without hesitation. Not like a lie, but like a memory. As if reality was something he could rewire. Retired FBI profiler Clint Van Zandt put it bluntly. This guy didn't just fall off the turnip truck and start doing this. Hilton's late emergence as a killer was a red flag, a sign that there could be earlier victims we've never found. By the 80s and 90s, Hilton was running scams, not yet violent, but the mask was thinning, and something darker was beginning to show.
So I immediately noticed that he was much more disheveled than normal. He smiled at me, and I noticed that several of his teeth were missing. I just said, "What happened to you?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, my teeth." He goes, he said, "I pulled them out with this pair of pliers." He said, "Yeah," he said, "he did it so it would frighten people when they looked at him."
By the 2000s, Hilton was broke, paranoid, alone. He lived in a white van with his dog Dandy, crashing between storage units and national forest. And he was abusing prescription stimulants, chasing escape from reality as everything around him collapsed. Criminologists like Eric Hickey note that it's almost unprecedented for serial murders to begin after age 60 and suggest either a long, hidden history or a dramatic final escalation. If Hilton's murders really began at 61, it would make him the rarest kind of killer. 1997, Pisgah National Forest. Judy Smith, a 50-year-old nurse, disappears while hiking alone. Months later, her remains are discovered, dismembered, scattered near the trail. The location, later tied to Hilton, 1998 Table Rock State Park. Jason Knapp, a Clemson student, parks his car and vanishes into the mountains. The vehicle was found. The keys were still inside. No body, no witnesses. Just absence. The wilderness gave him cover. The van gave him freedom. And his victims, they never saw him coming.
On Blood Mountain, it's a good place to hunt because it's the most used day hiking trail in the state of Georgia. But it's a bad place to hunt in that you
because they have a lot of people.
So the way you would do it, would be to lurk in a blind, so to speak, off the trail, observe with binoculars, and lurk.
In Hilton's confession, he revealed a predator's perspective on the national forest many of us see as sanctuaries. To Hilton, every trail held potential, every bend a blind spot, every clearing a trap. His military training and survivalist skills gave him an edge that transformed nature into something far more dangerous. Hilton knew exactly what to look for: isolation, blind corners, trails where someone could disappear without a sound. He understood how quickly a hiker could vanish and how easily evidence could be swallowed by the woods.
Once you've taken someone, you're either going to kill them or you're going to get caught. It's as simple as that.
October 2007, Pisgah National Forest, North Carolina. John and Irene Bryant, aged 80 and 84, were enjoying their retirement years with regular hikes through the mountains they loved. But they would never return from this particular trek.
I'm going to stake out this trailhead, and the first person that shows up goes.
Irene's body was found first on November 10th. She had been bludgeoned to death. John's remains, only his skull, wouldn't be discovered until February 2008. Before killing him, Hilton forced John to withdraw money from an ATM. It was a pattern he would repeat: isolation in the woods, followed by financial exploitation. December 2007, Apalachicola National Forest, Florida. Cheryl Dunlap, a 46-year-old nurse and Sunday school teacher, went for a solo hike. According to Hilton's 2025 confession, he had been watching the trail through binoculars, turning himself from hiker to hunter.
I had a little bit of peanut butter, some fruit juju, one Ritalin, a few spoons of coffee, and I had to take someone.
Hilton would later claim she urged him to seek forgiveness before he died, a detail never confirmed, but haunting nonetheless. He also insisted he was quote-unquote good to his victims, a grotesque distortion of reality.
It gave me a kind of a perverse amusement to think I just terrorized an entire church.
Cheryl's body was found decapitated and partially burned on December 16th. Hilton withdrew $700 from her account, but experts believe money was never the point.
I just have affected their life for the rest of their life. I kind of like, ha, 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 you know.
The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit later identified Hilton as a textbook example of an organized predator. He didn't just react, he planned. A charming dog, isolated trails, ATM withdrawals. It was all part of a controlled system of domination. But what Hilton didn't count on was crossing paths with someone who would fight back harder than anyone he'd ever encountered. January 1st, 2008, Blood Mountain, Georgia. Meredith Emerson, 24, set out with her dog Ella for a New Year's Day hike. Witnesses would later report seeing her speaking with an older man who had a retriever. The man had a strange detail they remembered: duct tape on his boots. What Hilton didn't expect was that Meredith, unlike his previous victims, was a trained martial artist with a black belt. She wouldn't go down without a fight. She disarmed him multiple times, even broke his hand. He was injured, enraged, momentarily powerless. Despite her training, Hilton eventually subdued Meredith. For 3 days, Hilton held Meredith captive, moving between locations in his van. But Meredith was fighting back in ways Hilton didn't realize. When forced to give her ATM pin, she provided a false number. This small act of defiance bought precious time. In one of Hilton's cruelest tactics, he showed Meredith newspapers to prove no one had reported her missing
I
yet.
joked about it with the girl. This is the second day or third day I'd had her. She still wasn't in the paper. I said, you know something, no one's even missed you. And she said, boy, I'd be mad if once you let me go and I came back and my boyfriend said, have you been gone? She said, we were laughing about it because nothing had appeared in the paper. It was like she hadn't even, I said, they haven't even reported you missing. Yeah, the day before she was killed. Okay.
On the fourth day of her captivity, Hilton told Meredith she was going home. Instead, he tied her to a tree and walked away. When he returned, he was carrying a tire iron. He struck her repeatedly in the head, then decapitated her. He left her body desecrated, her remains scattered across the forest floor. When Meredith didn't return home, friends quickly reported her missing.
No trace yet of a missing 24-year-old Gwinnett County woman.
We were there from sunup to sundown.
Meredith Emerson could do anything. If anybody can survive this, she can.
We haven't found anything here yet.
Police found her car near the trailhead, keys inside, along with her dog's leash and a police baton. Multiple hikers recalled seeing her with an older man. The description, a drifter known in the area who lived out of a white Astro van. As investigators searched, a new clue surfaced.
It's going to be a white male between the ages of 50 and 60 years old.
We got a call from someone who essentially said, I know who you're looking for.
I heard the description. I heard the location, Blood Mountain, which I knew was a frequent place that he visited. I put all that together and my heart just sunk to my stomach. I said, oh my God, this must be Gary Hilton.
On January 4th, a witness spotted Hilton cleaning out his van at a gas station. He appeared to be scrubbing what looked like blood.
Okay, 911, what's the exact location?
I have the person of interest in that missing woman case is at this Chevron gas station on Ashford Dunwoody.
Chevron gas station at Ashford Dunwoody?
Yeah. Van is here. The dog is here, the red dog, and I saw the man's face, and I've been watching the news, and I know it's him. And he's emptying all this stuff out of his van. Pillows and a blanket, and it looks like he's got a sleeping bag right now. Taking it all to the trash. It's definitely
And the dumpster is
looking around like he is as guilty as sin.
Okay, sir, and the dumpster is at the rear of the location?
Yeah, the dumpster, well, it's kind of right in the front. It's right by the car wash.
Okay.
I can go take him down if you want.
No, sir, stay right there.
Okay.
Okay, hold on, sir.
He looks like he's finishing up. You guys got to hurry. He's got stuff in bags that he's emptied onto the ground, and he's taking load by load to the dumpster behind the car wash. This is the third backpack we've seen him take to the dumpster. Is there somebody en route?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Here comes the cops. Yes. They got him.
When police arrived, the van's rear seatbelt was missing, later matched to bloodied material found with Meredith's belongings. He was arrested on the spot, but it was too late for Meredith. Hilton was in custody, but the damage was far from over, because once he started talking, what he revealed was darker than anyone expected.
I mean, is that difficult to do, to take somebody's head off? I've never seen that done. I mean,
all you got to do is keep sawing,
Right.
sawing, and then get through the joint.
The fact that he had decapitated her, I asked him what was that about? And he said that he had done that for forensic purposes.
It's just like you would, that's what it's made for in the kitchen,
Right.
to cut up meat.
right.
And if anybody's ever met Gary Hilton, he did that because he liked it.
Facing overwhelming evidence, Hilton struck a deal. In exchange for avoiding the death penalty in Georgia, he agreed to lead investigators to Meredith's body. On January 5th, 2008, they recovered her decapitated remains.
I just fell down on my knees and started crying.
I didn't kill them because for any satisfaction. It was distasteful. It was dreadful. Trust me, it was. Of course, I was able to do it because of my general rage against society.
But that claim of distaste didn't match his demeanor. In interviews, Hilton often leaned into his image not as a man burdened with guilt, but as a monster who finally had an audience. Gary Michael Hilton received multiple sentences for his crimes. In Georgia, life imprisonment for Meredith Emerson's murder. In Florida, the death penalty for killing Cheryl Dunlap. And in North Carolina, 4 consecutive life sentences for the murders of John and Irene Bryant. The court called Hilton's crimes especially heinous, cold, calculated, and premeditated.
Satan was running his soul.
Today, Gary Michael Hilton remains on death row in Florida, his appeals ongoing. At 78 years old, he continues to be an outlier, defying conventional patterns and understanding. But the question that continues to haunt investigators is whether these 4 victims represent Hilton's entire body count. The troubling implication: if Hilton's known crimes began at age 61, what might have happened in the decades before?
You have the power to haunt our dreams. Do you enjoy having that kind of power over us?
You know, in a perverse kind of way, I do.
To date, it's unclear if we know everything there is to know about Gary Hilton. Instead, we're left with questions, wondering how many miles of forest hold secrets of a predator who spent a lifetime learning to blend into his surroundings. The families of Meredith Emerson, Cheryl Dunlap, and John and Irene Bryant will never have all of their answers, but their stories won't be forgotten, and they deserve to be told, as these victims deserve to be remembered. If you want to help ensure more cases like this get the attention they deserve, please subscribe. And if you believe these stories matter, please share this video. As always, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.